Greetings, denizens of the night, and welcome to Fangs After Dark, and the next installment in Vampiric VIPs. It's been a while since I've done one of these, and I apologize for that, but we're back, and tonight we will be talking about Cuthbert Beckett, that popular, lovable, archaeologist, world-hopping gangrel that seems to always get themselves into some shit or another. You would think that this enigmatic K-Knight would have loads of information regarding their past, present, and potential future, but this gangrel's origins and large swaths of time regarding his exploits are obfuscated by ambiguity or just flat out unknown. The biggest compilation of Beckett's activities are actually compiled in Beckett's Jahan Diary, which is a very recommended read, a big read, but an awesome one, especially if you're interested in vampiric lore of this world of darkness of ours. But without further ado, here's my take on Cuthbert Beckett. What little can be pieced together about his mortal past is that he was born in England and embraced in Oxford. He still maintains strong ties to his British homeland, and while he doesn't really maintain a permanent haven, he does maintain a haven beneath the Kaleva Arms in Silchester. After the embrace, it is presumed he was abandoned to fend for himself, as many gangrel are. During this time, he quickly became disillusioned with vampiric society and chose the way of the autarchus. One might wonder what actually happened to make him see the vampiric world this way, but really, you could insert any vampiric conflict there and you would probably be correct. Alone, he met Aristotle de Laurent, a Malkavian Nautist, who was a part of a group of Nautist lore seekers called the Nemesine. He introduced Beckett to his studies, and Beckett became his adopted childer and de Laurent his adopted sire. And although de Laurent does not follow the Sabbat's path of Cain like many Nautists actually do, some think that he actually follows the path of humanity, his driving goal is to determine the true history of the kindred race, and especially the early history of Cain, the antediluvians, and Enoch, and the pursuit of that kind of history, that Nautist lore. Beckett took to those teachings and also decided that this would be his unlife's pursuit. In Beckett's perspective, forces ranging from the impersonal and destructive hand of entropy to the very personal vampires of the Sabbat, Camarilla, and other sects conspire to keep him from learning the truth. Therefore, he attempts to avoid vampiric conflict when possible, preferring only to face the sorts of problems that mortal archaeologists seem to have to deal with. But as we all know, no matter what you do, as a kindred, you're always going to have to deal with other kindred. He has had moderate success with this, though, for not every vampire in the Sabbat and the Camarilla and all around is trying to conspire against him. The K-Knights he has to deal with were more personal, only targeting Beckett due to personal vendettas against the Gangrel scholar, some of them adversaries of his own making, as, like I stated before, as a kindred, you're always going to end up conflicting with other kindred, and Beckett isn't immune to the kindred propensity of creating enemies, to which he has made a few, which we will get into later. Beckett is a rare gangrel, well-connected and educated. He has cultivated contacts and allies around the world from the ranks of mortal and supernatural alike, though few know him well. His closest allies are his erstwhile companions, Lucita de Aragon and the raving prophet Anatole. His longtime adversary, competitor, and rival is the Zemisi scholar Sasha Vaikos, infamous in their own right. He also has some other close companions, known as Oculos, and his ghoul Cesare. Known over the world for coming and going as he pleases, and to always appearing when interesting items, books, scraps, or stories appear, Beckett is also notorious among kindred scholars for his theory that the story of Cain and Abel is actually a myth representing human civilization's move from hunter-gatherer to an agrarian society.
Cain is the biblical first kindred and founder of the mythological first city, Enoch, a place where kindred and kine coexisted. I believe Cain's a figure concocted to personify the transition from nomadic society to agrarian society. That myth, like most, has been twisted by time.
How this relates to vampirism, he isn't sure, but he is pretty confident that if anyone can find the evidence and discover the truth, he can. And to be honest, most kindred, when they hear the mythical origins of vampires in the world of darkness, scoff at the tale as well, thinking it is nothing more than a fairy tale and a legend, unless you're one of those really paranoid Gangrel elders, or elders in general, in which case you scoff at it and throw it to the side while secretly sweating bullets all over it. His knowledge of ancient lore, linguistics, and fighting skills are perfectly complemented by his mastery of a number of disciplines outside the usual purview of the Gangrel, and a more than passing knowledge of thaumaturgy, or blood sorcery if you prefer. His skill with the Gangrel trademark disciplines, protean, fortitude, and animalism, is such that he often travels as a wolf, and he was known to run the length of a football field under the scorching sun. He has 2 beast marks, a trademark of the Gangrel blood bane, in which, when they frenzy, they develop bestial marks. Cat-like red eyes with crescent-shaped pupils, which glow faintly, and hands and forearms covered in coarse hair, like a wolf, and claw-like, even by kindred standards, nails, forcing him to keep them covered and wear shaded glasses among mortals, even at night, as cliche as that is. In modern nights, these bestial marks that the Gangrels manifest upon frenzy tend to fade in time, but unfortunately for Beckett, he still suffers the bane of permanency in his Gangrel blood when it comes to these. But what about his personality? Well, as many of us probably already know, Beckett is incredibly snarky and proud. He constantly uses his superior intellect to put others, kindred and kine alike, in their place, in the most sarcastic ways possible, which has gotten him into trouble on more than one occasion.
I haven't as yet had a chance to pore over it with my fine-tooth comb. I think I have one in my bag.
He does, however, abide by the rules of whichever political sect is controlling the city he is visiting. He still understands etiquette, and Beckett tries his best to be respectful of the different traditions, but has a disdain for the formalities and the pomp of the court. He finds the obsession with separation by clan to be pointless, and has little to no loyalty to the Gangrel clan as a whole, which really isn't saying much considering the clan as a whole doesn't have much loyalty to each other anyway. So I guess aside from his scholarly pursuits, he fits right into the Gangrel even if he doesn't want to admit it. I also doubt that he would actually pass up the opportunity to attend an all thing or a gathering of Gangrel where they essentially gossip and tell stories, because he collects stories and the best ones always come from those well-traveled, which the Gangrel overall are known to be. While Beckett has little tolerance for mortals in general, Beckett does try his best to avoid killing them while feeding. This is difficult in his wolf form, as his animalistic instincts tend to take over. If he is unable to stop himself, he tries his best to make sure his victims die as quick and painless death as possible. How considerate. He pities kine that are made into ghouls, but is not above giving them his blood while they are going through withdrawals in exchange for information. Due to his globetrotting, he purchased a private jet to avoid the sun while traveling, and of course having a private jet means that you're going to need people to manage it. This is where Cesare comes into play. He reluctantly created a ghoul out of this Cesare, an alcoholic, out-of-work pilot. If you travel and exist as long as Beckett has, you find that it's almost impossible to do anything without having a ghoul at some point or another. It's just the way of kindred life. You literally are unable to do anything for an entire half of every day. Many of them can't even force themselves to do it, so yeah, it's kind of necessity. But like I said, there isn't much about his past out there, but how about we talk about some of the exploits that some might know when it comes to good old Cuthbert Beckett. In pre-revolutionary France, apparently Beckett made an appearance in the court of François Villon, Prince of Paris, in 1789, alongside Lucita de Aragon and Anatole. It was there that he first voiced his doubts of his adopted sire's compilation of fragments of the legendary Book of Nod, due to his growing conviction that the book itself may be an allegorical tale. Back to that whole agrarian theory. He credited the mortal philosophers from whom he had spoken to in the salons with giving him new inspiration and perspective in this regard, teaching him the value of skepticism. Well, at least he had some growth when it came to visiting France. In the Victorian times, around 1888, he was wanted for dead in London after killing two kindred in a fight for a rare text. While trying to escape, the Setite Halim Bey noticed a drawing he had done of a tapestry in Egypt. It was a representation of Kementiri, the thousand-faced daughter of Set, another infamous Cainite. Beckett spent the rest of the year unknowingly under the influence of the followers of Set and their clan discipline Serpentis, aiding them in finding and helping Kementiri. During this time, he rescued and fell in love with Lady Emma Blake, a Tremere neonate and former ghoul of Kementiri, who was being used as a spiritual vessel by the followers of Set. Though whether he actually loved her or his feelings were the result of the Setites' manipulation is up for debate, and no one can really say if they've ever seen them together after that or not. In the 1890s, Beckett found his way to Vienna, where the ideas of Dr. Sigmund Freud concerning the human psyche fascinated him. Why did this Gangrel entertain Freud's intellectual leanings? Probably a desire to correlate Freud's research with the vampiric condition specifically, particularly with regard to the relationship between sire and child. Beckett studied the techniques of psychoanalysis from the master himself until he hit the road once again to pursue other interests. During World War I and II, he also had a couple things that took place. During World War I, Beckett was wounded while exploring one of the trenches and was saved by a vampire whom he calls Amirine, or he also might be known as Prospero, an interesting Bruja who rules over the Cayman Islands and may or may not be an infernalist. In 1945, he embraced a German vampire hunter named Marie because he wanted to punish her for burning a list of occult tomes that he wanted to obtain. She continues hunting him into the modern night, Berlin, as he sought revenge on him. Going back to that kindred often create their own enemies thing, it's not surprising. He eventually caught up to her unknowingly while searching for the famous book of the Grave War. But she set Beckett up and ambushed him, but the real wound she caused was ramming a stake right through that precious book he searched for. Beckett escaped that ambush, but Marie has not been heard from since. Curious. During the excavations near the ancient Cappadocian city of Kaymakli in 1999, Beckett's Nosferatu companion Oculus got lost within the wards placed by the antediluvian founder of the Cappadocians himself. Beckett, however, was able to rescue Oculus after 4 years, and in the process recovered a fragment of the Book of Nod that told of the end times. He regulated it to the Dahabi revenant Rania in order to translate it. His adoptive sire, Aristotle de Laurent, arranged for the transport of the translation and the revenant to Montreal to a coven of learned Nodists, not to safeguard Beckett's discovery, but to deflect Beckett's inquiries and to decipher the fragment for himself. His fear of the Gehenna legends got the better of him, leading to his betrayal. This began a feud between him and his adoptive sire. Although some may say Laurent's fears were founded as rumors circulated that Beckett's release of the wards released something else from Kaymakli. Something dangerous. Beckett had a brief stint in Chicago, actually, in 2001, where he apparently discovered the machinations of the Methuselahs Menelae and Helena, and was pulled into a conflict with another supernatural being known as Ankotep. Your guess as to what kind of supernatural being that is. He would come of this conflict very much alive, lending to his legendary survivor status, involving himself in conflicts outside of his control, yet still coming out of the other side, smelling like roses somehow. And then, of course, we have probably one of his most famous exploits that many kindred are familiar with, and that is the events that took place in Los Angeles in 2004. Word spreads fast, and when the Camarilla tried to plop down in LA with Sebastian LaCroix claiming praxis in the territory long held as an anarch-free state, Beckett's ear perked up in case any interesting findings would emerge. As many experienced kindred know, large-scale vampiric conflict always seems to stir up ancient shit, Beckett's specialty. And he was right to do so, as the famed Ankaran sarcophagus surfaced, causing the West Coast to stir up into a near frenzy as the rumors spread that this artifact contained something so ancient it would turn the kindred world upside down.
All this speculation about the sarcophagus containing an antediluvian and being a portent of Gehenna is making me cringe.
So Beckett couldn't resist, obviously, and he made his way to LA to study the sarcophagus. He entered friendly relations with the prince as a means to study and open the sarcophagus. Unfortunately, the artifact needed a key, and the prince manipulated an unusually powerful fledgling to retrieve the key. Mysteriously, even Beckett succumbed to this uneasy feeling that was spreading around the city and the West Coast about the sarcophagus. He actually decided to cut his losses and leave before it was opened, fearing that something very wrong would go. He even tried to advise the mysterious fledgling themselves to not open it and to leave on their own. But most of us know what happened after that.
Wait! About the sarcophagus, don't open it. Whatever you do, do not open the Ankaran sarcophagus. Well, despite what I said, if that sarcophagus is opened, there will be disaster. In what form, I cannot be sure. But after studying the evidence, I'm convinced now that it is better left undisturbed, and anyone who'd pursue any other course is deserving of the consequences.
In the modern nights, despite the fact that there is a large blank space of his events and exploits, Beckett's adventures between LA and the present are pretty much non-existent, but it is known that Beckett was last seen with Agatha Starrick and Theo Bell fighting off fractured Sabbat and agents of the Ancients in the supposed Gehenna War. With Ancients awakening and making moves, a scholar with solid information on such beings is of extremely high value, and Beckett has seen himself invited to the courts of mighty princes. Whether he takes them up on such invites has yet to be substantiated, but at least we know that he is out there on the front lines trying to uncover the truth as more ancients step into the spotlight. That's all I really have on Cuthbert Beckett, our Gangrel scholar. A lot of the information is very bits and pieces, essentially. But I do have a compilation of quick facts here that I can give you to satiate a little bit more of your curiosity on our lovable archaeologist elder here. Apparently, he courted Karna. Yes, that Karna, the infamous Tremere who managed to unlock the secrets of the Book of the Grave War. Their relationship obviously didn't last too long, but I guess they made smooches at some point. The rivalry between him and Zamitsi Sashavikos is pretty bitter, considering Vikos themselves considers his discoveries of kindred history as competition, and Sasha has gone out of their way to kill a lot of Beckett's friends to try to get to him. Beckett is also an enemy of the Camarilla founder Hardestedt the Younger. During a meeting with Beckett, Hardestedt apparently used the dominatability repression of the obvious to ensure Beckett would be honest with him. This caused Beckett to blurt out that he knew Hardestadt was not the true founder and had been masquerading as his own sire for nearly 600 years. Hardestadt obviously sent Theobald to try to kill him for knowing such things, and apparently that didn't go the way Hardestadt wanted. Obviously. Poor guy. Apparently, Beckett is friends with one of the Hollow Ones, which is a tradition amongst the mages of the world of darkness. One Nola Spear. They trade supernatural favors, but due to the secrecy of the two groups, they never outright say to each other that one is a mage and the other is a vampire. Though I'm pretty sure they're both smart enough to suss out who is what. And it is known, or at least speculated, that Cuthbert Beckett is a 7th generation Gangrel. And although he is considered elder, he actually detests being referred to as old, as he really isn't anywhere near as ancient as a lot of the other elders that seem to be miffling about, at least up until the modern knights. And those are some last lightning round facts for you in regards to Cuthbert Beckett. I hope you enjoyed this little compilation of information about our lovable Gangrel scholar, and hopefully we'll hear more about him in the future. One thing that I wanted to bring up before I let you all go into the night is something that I'm doing that will potentially help me continue doing this and doing it a little bit more consistently, and that is I started my own Patreon. Now, I know that I don't have a whole lot to offer so far, and the only tier on this Patreon is just a support tier that offers some acknowledgement at the end of my videos for your wonderful contributions and first come, first serve on voting for video topics and things of the like. So I would encourage you guys to check out the Patreon, and if you wish to support me in what I do, feel free. I would appreciate anything that you wonderful denizens of the night are willing to offer. Until next time, farewell, and remember, nothing good ever happens after dark.